Palif, Tamuz.
Did you have a comment?
Atoshin, Summer,
You have to have a comment.
Shir
You can't
Pali,
just
Parshas
sit and fold your
Matas.
arms like that. You have to have a comment. What about you over in the corner? Do you have a comment?
Yeah, comment. Yes.
Fine. So turning to chapter Lamed Aleph, Pasuk Aleph. In this week's Pasuk Maasei. Quiet. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe Lemor. Nikoim nikmas b'nei Yisrael me'esh hamidyonim. The Eibush says to Moshe that you must take the revenge of the Yidden. Nikoim nikmas b'nei Yisrael me'esh hamidyonim, from the people called Midian, the Midyanim. You have to put your feet down straight if you don't mind, guys. I don't like people like that. And after that, you, referring to Moshe Rabbeinu, will have to pass away from the world. Teosef Elamecha means you'll have to be gathered into your peoples. That means even of passing away. Vaydaber Moshe Elohim, and immediately Moshe spoke to the people. Hey, choltzu mi itchem. You must order yourselves in such a way that you will bring from you chalutzim. What chalutzim means, people who are organized for war. Anashim latzavor, and these should be people. And it's brought down in Medrash Chazal, and Rashi also mentions it, that Anashim Stam in the pasuk means tzaddikim. The people who actually went to this war were limited in number, and they were all what we could describe as tzaddikim. Anoshim Ratzavah, for the army, Vayu al Midyan, and they should be upon Midian, which they should go over against Midian. Loseis nikmas Hashem b'Midian, to give the Nakoma the vengeance of the Eibishter in Midian. So the intelligent readers immediately attracted, his eyes immediately jumped at the big surprising change that the Eibishter told Moshe that he should take the revenge of the Jewish people from the Midianim. Nikmas b'nei Yisrael. And when Moshe gives the order over to the Yidden and tells them to organize themselves for war, then he says the purpose is to take the revengeance of the Eibishter, Nikmas Hashem. And the Shem Yud-Kei Vov-Kei, the Shem Amiyuchad of the Eibishter. So either it's Nikmas b'nei Yisrael or it's Nikmas Hashem. Elef Lamateh, 1,000 from each tribe. Elef Lamateh, L'chel Matos Yisrael Tishlochu Latzavor. Vayimosru mi'alfei Yisrael Elef Lamateh. And then it's written, Vayishlach Oisom Moshe Elef Lamateh Latzavah. Oisom v'yes Pinchas ben Elazar HaKohen Latzavor. He sent them all the people, each 1,000 from each of the tribes. He put them under the leadership of Pinchas ben Elazar HaKohen. We're already familiar with Pinchas from the beginning of last week, or the end of Parsha Bolok, and last week's Parsha. But he was the one that he took the the vengeance of the Eibishter, or literally the Kina of the Eibishter against Zimri ben Solo and the daughter of one of the kings of Midian, Cosbi Bastur. So Moshe chose him to lead the army against the Midianites. And he took with him the Klei HaKodesh. The Russians said he took with him even the Oren and the whole thing. Well, it's not the place to get involved in the whole discussion, even though it's a very long discussion. What's he doing taking those things with him out to war? That's what he did. And then it's written that they went and they made war against the Midianites. And they did whatever they did. They made first of all, they killed all the males, and then they killed all the kings of Midian, and they made a tremendous, they took certain of the women, certain of the Nekavis, but not all of them, and the children and others they took, and all the behemoths and all the other, what you might call ownership of the Midianites. They made a tremendous destruction in Midian. I'm going to ask you to leave the room. If you schmeichel once more, you're out. Okay, yes, you. All right? And they made a tremendous balagan over there in Midian, to use the expression, and then they all came back to Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu and Elazar HaKohen go out to meet them, and Moshe Rabbeinu immediately becomes angry when he sees that they didn't kill off all of the women. And he explains why, because he says they were the ones that the Midianites sent, as is told at the end of the Pashabolot, that they sent to tempt the Jewish people, and that's what involved the whole plague, that Pinchas, in his tremendous act, that he saved the people from that plague. So therefore Moshe Rabbeinu said that, what on earth are you guys doing, bringing back these people that were, how do you call it, a tremendous takola to the Jewish people? You have to put all of them to death, and that's what happened in the continuation of the matter. So we need to understand here, we've already been told earlier in Pasha Pinchas, the Eibusha already told Moshe Rabbeinu that you must literally make trouble for the Midianim. Over there, it was written the Lashon Tzoroyer es HaMidianim, give them trouble, and the reason for that is what they did. They made this plot against the Jewish people. They sent all of their daughters in the tremendous Eiter, which was given both by Moab and by Midian at the end of Pasha Bolok, and they got the Yidden involved in all this immorality with the women, and that brought the tremendous plague on the Jewish people. And for that, the Eibusha sent Pinchas, or Pinchas made his act of kino against the leader of Shimon, that he was involved with the leader of, or the princess of one of the kings of Midian. So over there it's written just to cause them trouble. But over here, the Eibusha says clearly to Moshe that you have to take the revenge of the Jewish people, and you have to take the revenge of the Eibusha from the Midianites, and then after that you have to pass away. In other words, we already told in last week's Pasha that the Eibusha was already preparing the passing away of Moshe Rabbeinu. And way back in Pasha Chukas, it was already nigza, it was already decreed against Moshe Rabbeinu that he was going to pass away. He wasn't going over into Eretz Yisrael. So the immediacy of those two psukim, one alongside the other, where the Eibusha says you must take the revenge of the Bnei Israel from the Midianim, and after that you will pass away, well, that would tend to indicate that there's some connection, one with the other, that they're talui, as it were, dependent one upon the other. that Moshe Rabbeinu, come on man, you do this every week, really, no? I mean, there's a limit. Well, for that, it's apparent that the passing of Moshe and the Nekoma, whatever that means, this vengeance against the Midianim, are dependent one in the other. In other words, that Ki'ilu, Moshe Rabbeinu can't pass away from the world unless he's done that. However, once he has done that, then it will be possible for there to be the passing of Moshe. And that would tend to imply a couple of inyanim. First of all, it would tend to imply that Moshe Rabbeinu's life won't be complete unless there'll be this inyan of the revenge against the Midianites. And on the other hand, it's for the Alter Rebbe brings down in the Siddur at great length that when a tzaddik leaves the world, or whatever we may describe that, or how it may actually happen, when he leaves the world, then he reaches his perfection. At that moment that he actually departs the world, that is the perfection of his whole life, and that's like what call the highest and most consummate moment in the whole of his existence. As he brings the Alter Rebbe dort, Barichas in reference to Lag Boimer, the Dini from Rabbi Shimon, we see we make such a tremendous, unbelievable celebration on the day that Rabbi Shimon passed away. The Chorah should make a day of mourning or chayes. What's the tremendous rejoicing? So the Alter Rebbe explains over there, Dafke, on the day of the passing of the tzaddik, but that's a tremendous simcha because all the inyanim that he achieved, all the whole efforts of his life, of the tzaddik, all gathered together in like one big general light, one big perfection on the day that he leaves the world. So apart from the implication being that Moshe Rabbeinu can't leave the world until he does this inyan of the Nekoma against the Midianites, well, that would also imply that that's like the last brick in this great perfection which is now going to occur, and that on the last day, or over the last hours or whatever, Moshe Rabbeinu in the world, they're going to be reached the general and all consummate aliyah and perfection, al-yidei, what he will take the Nekoma against the Midianim. So for that we see that there's some tremendously profound inyan in this whole revenge against the Midianim, that it's going to be, as it were, moishiv, and add shleimus into the whole life and the whole lifetime of Avodah of Moshe Rabbeinu, and therefore his whole passing away is dependent on this war against the Midianim. And it's not just a war, but it's a nekoma, it's a revenge. First of all, it's a revenge from the Jewish people, revenge for Jewish people, and then it's a revenge for the Eibishter himself, as Moshe Rabbeinu puts it. So that's the first thing we need to understand, what is so central and so important in the revenge against the Midianites, that it should be so nogeya to the whole perfection of Moshe Rabbeinu's Avodah and his life, and nobody else can do it except him. And what's the difference between what's written over there in Parsha Pinchas, that just have to cause them trouble? And here we see what appears to be a much deeper inyan. And then we see that the question asks itself, if this is so important to Moshe Rabbeinu's life in general, and it's like the expression of the perfection and the gathering together of the consummate perfection of Moshe Rabbeinu's Avodah, Meshach, the whole of his life. I mean, Moshe Rabbeinu achieved unbelievable inyanim. Meshach called him Meichayo. Is him Cain? Why didn't he do it himself? Ask yourself to give all the Shaila. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu just very, very coolly, and what you might call, but he just said, oh yes, we got this unbelievable thing to do, which is so tremendously important to me and to the whole Jewish people. Oh yes, let Pinchas do it. He will go. So I mean, the intelligent klutz reader, how do you call it, the simple reader, doesn't know any tricks. He would just say, why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu take care of that whole in himself? And then, later on, why is it that Pinchas, being as he was such a trusted shliach, and he was such an unbelievable figure, Pinchas, how come he came back, Pinchas, in a way that Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't particularly pleased about certain ways that he did it? But on the other hand, it all went over very quietly. Once Moshe got angry and they'd corrected the situation, then everything seemed to go back fine. We don't find, however, we have another case where the Eibushter said to destroy a certain people, and that was Amalek, and he got a person called Shaul HaMelech to do it, and Shaul HaMelech just missed on one point, and boom, he missed everything. He was Rahman Litzlan. He was taken down from the Malchus, and he was told by Shmuel Hanavi, what I understand you were going to Shmuel Hanavi tomorrow morning, so it's Hashgacha Pratius. We have to mention Shmuel Hanavi. He was told by Shmuel Hanavi that he can't possibly be king over the Jews anymore, and a whole tremendous punishment that occurred to Shaul HaMelech. He missed out on one detail, one prat, when he was told by the Eibushter to destroy a certain people. And here we see that now Moshe Rabbeinu was not pleased. He was angry. Pinchas gets through it all right, no worries, nobody has any real tightness ultimately to Pinchas. So ask yourself the Shaila, why would it be like that? And when it comes to the Inyan from Amalek, then we find complete destruction. Over there the Eibushter says you've got to wipe them out. Timche Ezecher Amalek, and it's brought down in reference to Shaul Hanavi when he went over to fight the Amalekites. Shaul HaMelech. In the Shlichus of Shmuel Hanavi, certainly he had to destroy all the animals, and he had to destroy everything. Anything that might even have the name of Amalek on it, he had to wipe it out. And here we see they brought all the behemoths and everything. Everything was okay. Moshe Rabbeinu was only angry about the women who caused all the trouble. And Rashi brings down that it was known who they were, and it was the whole apparent group of these plotting women that had done all the terrible damage. So Moshe Rabbeinu considered that it was proper that they were chayav mitzvah. And therefore he said they had to be put to death. Apart from that, everything went over perfectly all right. So we have to understand all these different diukim. Comes along Rashi. Rashi tells us that you have to give the nekoma of the Midianites, of the Jewish people in the Midianites. So in Pasuk Beis, me'eis ha-Midyanim. So Rashi says, "V'loi me'eis ha-Moyavim." Only from the Midianites, or but not from the Moavites. So you might say, well, what's this for that we should be worried about the Moavites? Because if we look at the end of Pasha Balak, then we see that there was two people that hired, well, not the end of Pasha Balak, the beginning of Pasha Balak, there were two people hired Bilam to curse the Jewish people. And who were they? They were Moab and Midian. And the amazing thing is that the king of Moab, that he actually said to bring Bilam, curse the Jewish people, he was at that time, he was a king over Moab, but he was really a Midianite, Rashi says. He was from the princes of the Midianim, Balak. And he just happened to be, somehow or another, he'd become a usurper. He got onto the throne of Moab. Obama, he was also from Midian. However, the Moabites were also involved to bring Bilam against the Jewish people. And Bilam is the one who gave him the terrible Eitzah. Bilam said to him, well, look, I haven't been able to achieve anything, but you know what? The Eibushter, he doesn't like immorality. That's the way that you bring them down. And he gave them the Eitzah that they should send their daughters against the Jewish people. And so it's written that both Moab and Midian sent their sent their daughters. So he came, and they were the ones who hired, because Bala was the king of Moab. I mean, why is it that after everything's been settled and we're demanding now the revenge, we demand the revenge only from the Midianites and not from the Moabites? So therefore Rashi says, Sha'amoyavim niknasu ladova matmas yiro. He said the Moavim got involved in the whole thing because of pachad. They were worried and they were full of fear. Shahoyu yireim mihem. They were concerned that the Yidden shiyu shoylelim, that the Yidden were gonna, take all their spoil. They're gonna come in and take their spoil. Now, why does Rashi say that they were worried that they're gonna take only the spoil and not mamish kill them off? Because there was a mitzvah on the part of the Eivishter, that the Eivishter told the Yidden not to make war against Moab. You're not allowed to do anything against Moab. And therefore he said, but you could take spoil from them, but not actually destroy them in war. You're not allowed to make war against the Moabites. You can take their spoil. And therefore the Moabites were worried they're going to take their spoil. Nobody had to the Midianim anything. The Jews weren't interested at all in Midianim. Says Rashi that the Midianites got involved in a quarrel which wasn't there. Now, this is a very important statement on the part of Rashi. In other words, that the Midianites, they went, as it were, L'Shem Shamayim, the Shem Shamayim, Mamish and Liyumat there, they went purely for the sake of getting somehow or another at the Yidden. They had no worry. The Yidden had no interest in their land. And as we're going to see later on, two different opinions in the Medrash as to which Midian this was. Because there's one opinion in the Medrash that maybe even two different states or countries which are called Midian. However, whichever one it may happen to be, the Jews weren't told to destroy Midian or to have anything to do with it, or to capture Midian or to take it over. Midian was not one of the 7 peoples, and it wasn't part of Sichon and Va'oig, the 2 great Amorite kings that they conquered on the other side of the Yarden before they went over. So Midian was an outside country. It had nothing to do, the Yidden had nothing to do with the Midianites. What are they doing here? What are they doing coming into the whole Indian? So Rashi says they came in al Riv Shalelahim. It was a quarrel that they didn't belong in it. It was not their in Klalu Uklau. And so therefore, since they came in such a way, therefore the Iker Nakoma was against them. The Moabites, they also basically had nothing to worry about. The truth is that the Moabites are also, they had basically nothing really to be concerned about. The great Meforshim tell us at the beginning of Bolach, for the reason Rashi just said, that the Eivishter said you must not really make war, not against Moab and not against Ammon. And you're all familiar with the fact, you all know why, because they were descendants of Lot. As you know, when Lot was left in the cave after the destruction of Storm Vamira, and he thought the whole world had been destroyed, then from his 2 daughters he had 2 sons, which were Moab and Omer. And so since they were descendants of Avram, or they were relatives of Avram Avinu, the Eivishter promised them that the Yidden wouldn't destroy them with all bigger riches, as brought down in the Psukim and in Divrei Chazal. And therefore the Moabim also didn't really have what to be afraid of. Although, like Rashi points out, they were afraid of that Enoch and Ami, they wouldn't destroy them, and they wouldn't really mamish make war against them, but they might plunder them and take away all their belongings. That was permitted, that they could have done, had they wanted. And the Moabites had Epis, they had something. Epis was, they had to be afraid of. The Midianites are completely out of the whole. They're absolutely out of the whole picture. What are they doing mixing in? Therefore, Rashi says they mixed in al Riv Shalolah. And therefore we find that in this war that now Moshe Rabbeinu made against the Midianites, they just destroyed Midian, but they never took it over, or they never made it part, not even like they did Sichon Va'oig. Sichon Va'oig, they made at least what's called Eva Hayal, then they made it a המדינה שייכת to the Yidden על הצד השני של הירדן. But with Midian, we just find they went in, made a tremendous mess, and came back out. They never actually took Midian to be part of the territory of the Jewish people, klal or klal. So it seems that it backed the other way. And what you might call in answer, the Yidden also handled Midian also in Oivim, which was what you might call Shem Shamayim, purely in order to take from them some revenge or to be mevatel their whole material, and then to retreat back out without any necessity of really needing anything with the Midianites or from the Midianites. And that says Rashi, that's why it is that the Ikar Nekoma was from the Midianites, because they came in Kilu L'Shem Shamayim, the Klipper, Achmanin and Tzlan, purely to cause trouble to the Yidden. And Rashi brings another opinion. He said the reason why they were told only to take revenge from the Midianites, not from Moav, was because Ruth was eventually going to come out of Moav, and Ruth, she was the great-grandmother of David HaMelech, and therefore we didn't want that the Yidden should destroy, or in effect take any action against Moav, because of these two ladies that are going to come out of Moav. One of them was Ruth, and the other was the mother of Rehoboam, in other words, one of Shlomo HaMelech's wives, and she was called Naomi HaAmonius, and she's also a ger. She was a ger tzedek from Ammon, and Ruth was a ger tzedek from Moav. So everybody asks the Shaila, why did Rashi have to mention Naomi HaAmonius, that she was from Ammon, not from Moav, and we're talking about Moav. Rashi's trying to say, why didn't we affect Moav? So what does it matter to us, this whole business with? And over in Pasha Pinchas, Rashi brings over there that the reason that we didn't make any trouble against the Moavites was because also Asida Rus, Lot says Me'em, doesn't mention anything about Naomi HaAmoni. Doesn't mention anything over there. And here Rashi mentions this matter of Rehoboam, in other words, Shlomo HaMelech's bride, Naomi HaAmoni is. And that's based on a Gemara in Masechet Bava Kama. Over there, Toisha says over there in Bava Kama, that didn't need to mention this Naomi HaAmoni. She's not again to the whole Indian. We're only interested in the Moavites, not the Ammonites. So therefore, Jesus said it was Kedi Nachto, for no reason that they just chose to mention Naomi. As they don't taste. However, Rashi probably doesn't hold that way, because he does mention her. So we'll see about that maybe as we go on a little bit. We might come back to that. Why did Rashi mention both of them, if it bothers anybody? And so then we go a little bit further, and we find that Moshe, he sent the soldiers and Pinchas. So he said, Oisom ve'es Pinchas. He sent all the soldiers and Pinchas. Agid, Shahoya, Pinchas, Shokul, connected Kulan. Pinchas was like equal to all of them. He sent all of them and Pinchas. Right? In other words, Mashman of Pinchas was equally powerful to all the other Jewish soldiers. And now Rashi asks the key question. Now here's a new one. Rashi says, why is it that Pinchas went and not Elazar, his father? Elazar was his father, and Elazar was the Kohen. He was the Kohen Gadol after Aaron had passed away. Rashi says, why didn't he send Elazar? So that's not the Shaila. The Shaila is, why didn't he go him? Why didn't he go himself? And the amazing thing is that there's a medrash, both in the Medrash Rabbah and in the Medrash Tanchuma, but that's what the medrash said. Yeah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Amar lo yalin koim nikmas b'nei Yisrael v'hu mishalech acherim, and he sends other people. They franked the medrash. So the medrash says over there an amazing thing. What Rashi apparently doesn't hold, that that's really Nogeya here, Be'inyan there. And then there's another opinion in the medrash, and then Rashi brings the other opinion, only he avoids this first one. The medrash brings over there a mashal, and it says that if you ever there's an old saying in English, in the Australian slang, that you don't look the gift horse in the mouth or something, or you don't throw a stone with the gift horse. I forgot exactly how it works. In other words, that Moshe Rabbeinu, he grew up in Midian. When I say grew up, he married, his wife was one of the daughters of Yisro, and Yisro was from Midian. And Moshe lived the whole period of his young life in Midian. So therefore, according to that medrash, Moshe Rabbeinu said, "What? I'm going to go." He said, "I have to grow up in Midian. You don't throw a stone against the be'er that you drank water from. If you drank water, then you don't drop a stone and block it up." He said, Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Not me. I can't possibly go." So I felt that. The Shalom, what sort of a thing is that? I mean, if they used to told you to go, what's it matter if you had a bit of an half and you got to forget and you got to beat up and clap them. He said, "What's that?" Anyway, as they state in the Medrash, and then it says, Yesha Imrim. Another opinion is, like Rashi said, that really it's not Nagaya, that whole Indian. No, the whole Indian was that Pinchas had to be sent. And why was Pinchas sent? And then we give different reasons. So the Medrash doesn't really make a big asik, who it was. So Rashi said, why wasn't it Elazar and not Pinchas? Well, that's very amazing. Why does he do that? And why does he avoid, and why does the whole Indian seems to avoid that simple shayla? Why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu do it himself? Elamai. Mizeh, it would appear that Elazar, being as he was the Kohen Gadol, and being as he was a tremendous spiritual leader of the Jewish people, and the Kohen Gadol's one on the whole generation is, as it were, talui in him, that if he would have been a very fitting person to go and to be noikim against these guys, these Midianites. And instead of that, Moshe decided, no, we will send Pinchas. So now Rashi brings a whole list of reasons why does Pinchas was just the man. As you say, how do you say it? He was just the one. Omar Kodesh Baruch Hu, Misha Hischil B'mitzvah, Shahorah Cosby Bastur, Yigmar. Pinchas fits just, he started the mitzvah. He killed the princess together with the leader of Shimon, Shevet Shimon. Her name was Cosby Bastur. As he killed her, so he began the whole, she was a Midianitess. And remember, he began the whole mitzvah, let him finish. In other words, we have a cloud, or somebody who begins a mitzvah, he's the one who should finish it. Dova Acher, another reason why Pinchas was ideal, Shaholach Lin Koim Nikmas Yosef Avi Imoy. What is this? That he went, Pinchas said, you have to let me go because I'll have a good opportunity to take revenge for my the father of my mother, who was Yosef. In other words, that Elazar's wife, that's to say Pinchas' mother, she was from Yosef. She had some connection with from Yosef, and therefore he said, I'm going to go and take Nakoma from these Midianites. Shenema v'Amidionim mochru oisei mitrayma. You remember the whole story with Yosef? That they put him in the boar and then they left him, and then they came the Ishmaelim, and the Ishmaelim drew him out, and they sold him to somebody else, and then somebody else sold him to the Midianim, and the Midianim sold him down to Mitzrayim, to Potiphar Kohen, wherever he was over there. They sold him to Mitzrayim. So Pinchas said, you see, those Midianites, they sold my grandmother, my grandfather to the Mitzrayim. I'm going to take the revenge, and this is very fitting that I should go. That was generations ago. Mine have come in. What do you want of the Midianites? I mean, that's the sort of guys they were. They were driving around the Midian, and they were just, merchants. Anything to get their hands on and make a few bucks, they did. So they got a hold of Yosef. They sold him to Potiphar. No, it's my head. What's the big deal? So Pinchas said, no, I'm going to get these Midian. I'm going to take my revenge. This is my chance. And it's only several generations from then. I mean, these Midianites, what do they know about Yosef or Tzaddik? No. Can't take his revenge against the Midianim. Yeah, and so he says, "Umanayin shoyes imay shel Pinchas mishel Yosef." How do you know that Pinchas's mother, she was from Yosef? Shenema min Poitiel. Yeah, that she, Pinchas's mother, she was from Zerah Yisrael. She pitem agolim laveda zora umizera Yosef. In other words, from one side she was from Israel, and from the other side she was from Yosef. And therefore, he went to be Dova Acher. Another reason says Rashi Shahoya Mashur Mulchama. Another very interesting reason, he was a Kohen Pinchas. He wasn't a Kohen Gadol. Elazar was the Kohen Gadol. What's the next step? The next step in the level of the Kohanim is what's called Mashur Mulchama, the one who's been anointed to carry out wars. You know, the Kohen has to go and tell the soldiers what to do, and the whole thing as brought down in Parsha Sheitim. So a very simple reason why Pinchas went, because he was the Mashur Mulchama. Oh, we see a whole series of inyanim, but Rashi's bottom, why did Pinchas go, not Elazar, and the simple little Ben Chomish Lamikar? He said, but what was Moshe? Why didn't Moshe better go for Klal? And was if his Rashi's so worried, why didn't Elazar go? So we have to say, it would seem that there's some very amazing Indian, according to Rashi, that the Eibishter never really expected that Moshe Rabbeinu would do him. So it's not the insistence in these Pesukim that Moshe Rabbeinu actually has to go to war against the Midianites. He has to go out there and clap the Midianites personally, Mamish Popoil. That never was even Oila Aladas. That never came in. Rashi didn't bring them at his word. Says, why didn't he go himself? Even though Rashi said earlier that Moshe Rabbeinu grew up in Midian, when they get to Bolak, he said that, Rashi. Oh, but here he doesn't mention it. And that would imply that as far as Rashi is concerned, the whole thing was Ayin, and that Moshe Rabbeinu had to be involved in the whole thing. As it were, he had to be, as it were, leader, the instigator, the promoter of the whole war against Midian. Or not that he had to actually carry it out personally himself, the war against the Midianim. Believe me, if I was to lay down on the floor now and sleep, I would sleep better than you, I promise you. I bet you I can raise any of you guys when it comes to that. So let's pull ourselves together. We've got to learn Torah. What can we do? So it would appear that Moshe Rabbeinu's got to be involved, but that's all. And therefore, according to Rashi, there was never any question, why didn't he go in? It's only Manid. The Rashi sent, we see that he sent a Kohen, Pinchas. If already sent a Kohanim, and it makes a good sense why he sent a Kohen, because they're like the leader, the spiritual leaders of the people, because this is why it's a spiritual Indian. But Miyuchat, why didn't he send Elazar? He was older, he was his father, he was the Kohen Gadol. And therefore, after that, Rashi's got all sorts of inyanim why Dafke Pinchas had to do it. And one of them was that we see that there's this old score with the Midianim. It's all the way through. It's a strange score here. And we go all the way back through Elazar's mother, back into the history of the family, and we find that the Midianites were mixed up. Ooh, the Midianites, boom. So therefore comes along the Zohar Kodesh. It's put down in the Zohar Kodesh, a very fascinating thing. And they say over there that everything, all the main tzoros that happened in this whole area around here, from Bilam, and from everything connected with it, was really the Midian. Everything was Midian, and not Moab. The Moabites were just like dragged in by the Midianites. And everything was Midian. They state. In other words, that Balak, like Rashi said, Balak, he was a prince. He was an Asik Midian. He was really from Midian. And he was the one who started the whole thing off. He was in charge of Moab, also somewhat similar as a usurper. He wasn't really from the royal family of Moab Klauk. And so what's he doing? All of a sudden, he mishes Orion. Do we have to bring this big knob from the Umasairam called Bilam? I have to bring it, must bring it. And then once we do, and we see we didn't work with him, we weren't successful with Bilam. Oh, well, let's ask Bilam what he said. Oh yeah, Bilam says get him with immorality. So the next thing is the Midianites. And the Zohar Kodesh said that the ones who sent all the Ikea women were the Midianites. And therefore over there, they're the one who got involved with Zimri ben Solo. But she was a princess, one of the kings of, she was a daughter of one of the kings of Midian. Cosby Bastu. Tzur was a Melech Midian. He's one of the 5 kings of Midian. Everything, he says, the Zohar Kodesh was als Midian. Everything was Midian. And it says wherever you look in history and you find that there's charters against the Jewish people, somehow or another Midian is involved. As I stated in the Zohar Kodesh. A politic Zach. And if you look up in the Sefer Yeshua, after Yeshua passed away and the Shaitim took over, then one of the early Shaitim was Gideon. You ever heard of Gideon? So who did he make war against? He made war against Midian. So it's brought down, and what's up? Midian all of a sudden came in, because Midian was just waiting for Yeshua, and once Yeshua's influence had been, as it were, sort of quietened, and Yeshua had gone somewhat off the immediate scene, then Midian got together. And you look over there in the midst of the war of Gideon against Midian, you'll see that it's written that there was a whole group of them all got together in a valley, and Gideon came down and he made a big ambush against them. So it's written who was there. It's written Midian v'Amalek. They state Midian v'Amalek. The Kol Shah b'nei Kedem, all the other people from the eastern countries, b'nei Kedem. So we see that we got Midian v'Amalek. And sure enough, it's written in the Zohar Kodesh that Bilam, he is the center of all the big Torahs. That he is Bilam is really similar to Amalek. And how do we find that? Because Balak, the last two letters of Balak are what do you call it? Lamed Kuf. And the first 2 words and the last 2 letters of Amalek are Lamed Kuf. And the first 2 words, the first 2 letters of Amalek are Ayin Mem, and the last 2 letters of Bilam are Ayin Mem. So we see that Balak, Bilam are all mixed up with Amalek. If you take 2 letters out of Bilam and 2 letters out of Balak, then you make up Amalek. You bring Amalek into the world. In other words, if you make a cross between Bilam and Balak, then you get Amalek. I stated the Zohar Kodesh. What can I do? And furthermore, I tell an amazing chesed. And furthermore, it's written about the whole 2 pages in the Zohar Kodesh how Pinchas killed Bilam. It's written a few lines further that the Yidden killed Bilam by Chorev. So it's put down the Targum Yonason that who killed Bilam? It was Pinchas killed him. And it's written that he flew up into the air because he was a magician, Pinchas. How do you call him? Bilam. And he saw the Yidden, so he flew up into the air and he made a whole... So it's brought down the Zohar Kodesh, the most amazing drama. That Pinchas also, he called out somebody from the Yidden, who was he? He knew also how to fly in the air, to make this, trick that you could fly in the air. He called him over and he said, listen, you fly up in the air, take me with you. And he said, okay. He flies up in the air, and then Bilam is flying one direction and Pinchas is coming after him, and there's this tremendous battle took place in the sky between Bilam and Pinchas. Rashi brings it down. Rashi doesn't bring it with all the Arizas, but Rashi says that Bilam lifted himself up into the sky, and they brought him down, and he fell on top of the bodies of the other Midianites, al-Halaleha. This whole war between Pinchas, but in the Zohar Kodesh, it's like one of these, thrilling stories that Bilam was flying around the air, and Pinchas and this other person who got him up in the air, they're chasing after him, and in the end Pinchas kills Bilam with a sword and brings him down with a whole Arichas HaInyan. So from that it follows that what's the huge Arichas in the Zohar Kodesh to tell me how Pinchas killed up Bilam? What is so important is a simon that they call him Bilam is the center of all the tzaras. Be'emes Lamida, he's the center of everything, and he's a crossbreed between Balak and Amalek. He's like between Midian and because Balak was a Midianite and Amalek was Amalek. If he's a crossbreed, he's an amateur. They're crossed between the two of them, and the building of the two of them together, that is the tremendous threat. And Pinchas, he's the one who brings them down. And even if they'll go up into the air, he'll get them. So I told the Shalom, what on earth it says. However, if you look carefully in the Zohar Kodesh, like I pointed out, it says that the basis and the shoyrus of all the problems and all the tzaras was Midian. And Moya was just a little cogwheel. And then it's written that in the Nevuahs that Bilam gives towards the end when he's already beaten and he's leaving, he mentions Amalek and he says, the whole thing about Amalek. So it's written that the Midianites went to Amalek and they said, listen, what are you sleeping? You don't remember what the Yidden have done to you? And they stirred him up and they got a whole breed together between Midian and Amalek. But they couldn't do anything. Koed, that Moshe Rabbeinu was there, and then Yeshua was his Talmud. Well, once he they came, and the one who got them was Gideon. He was the one who actually beat them at war. But the Zohar Kodesh said, even after they were defeated by Gideon, the Midianites have never given up. There's always a trace of Midian, which is bringing and planning tzaras to the Jewish people. Kaviyohu l'shem Shah. For no reason, absolutely, Tam miyuchad, chutz mi a kavona miyuchedes to fight and to bring down the Jewish people. So I asked the Shaila, what's that? What sort of an Indian has the senior from Midian and somehow or another connected with Amalek? So therefore, the intelligent reader would ask, him Cain, we should be fighting Midian like we do Amalek. And it's written about Amalek that you have to destroy him absolutely, everything. And this Polish Yidden in Breibach, there's some of the Polish and the Chernobyl, but they have special shoes. Certain times of the year they write on the bottom of their shoes Amalek. So that when they walk, they're all the time rubbing out the name of Amalek. Yeah, they write on the bottom of their shoes Amalek. And wherever they walk, they're all the time gradually, wiping out the name of Amalek. Yeah. I've seen it. My daughter was friendly with one of the daughters of one of the Morim at the Chernobyl dynasties in Bnei and she told my daughter all about it, that her father walks around all the time with Amalek written on the soles of his shoe. But anyway, we see the fees there, that there's an Indian to wipe out Amalek mikol v'kol, and it's written that it's every generation, and the Eibush says, if you don't do it, then I'll do it. Milchama l'Hashem b'Amalek midoer doer. And it's brought down that when Melech HaMashiach will come, one of his Ikar Inyanim will be to destroy Zara Shel Amalek, and he'll be helped by the Eibush to do it, etc. etc. Why don't we find that by Midian? It should be Allah's Kama v'Chama by Midian. It should be to be an unbelievable war against Midian. Wherever you see Midian, you should start Midian. And some people hold that's what you have to do by Amalek. Therefore, there are great poskim that hold that if you see somebody that you know he's mamish from Amalek and you can prove it, that you have to go up and put him away on the spot. So it's a poskim what they hold. The only difficulty is we're not sure 100% nowadays who exactly is Amalek, even though some of the great poskim hold that it's the Daichin. They say that the Daichin are built in Sophie. They are Amalek, but you got to be very careful that you don't go running around get yourself into trouble, knocking off Germans. But anyway, Isaiah don't poskim what I hold like that. Why don't we find such a thing by Midian? We have to say Midian is a lot worse. I think the Zohar Kodesh said they're the ones, and they stir up Amalek. They would get inside Amalek, and they They bring him into cars. What are you going to do we? And also, as we pointed out before, Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to go, but he didn't, and nobody really bothers about the fact that he didn't. Mashiach, over there by Amalek, it's written that Moshe Rabbeinu should have made the war with Amalek. That's why his hands became heavy. He couldn't hold them up, because Nishrashel Yodo, he didn't want to go out himself. And he said to Yeshua, over here, nobody says any such thing. On the contrary, Rashi never even asked the Shaila. Rashi says, why he should have sent a lover. So, I mean, the whole thing is very puzzling and very amazing. What's this whole meaning of the Midyanim? They seem to be the villains behind everything, and they seem, nonetheless, they see some other, inverted commas, get away with it. More than what we find by Amalek. So we should suggest that the Indian, as I say, going back for a minute to what Rashi said, that the Midianites came in al Riv Shaloi Lahem. They came in L'Shem Shammai. We find it's a most amazing maimah from the Alter Rebbe in Lekut Torah on this pasuk Chotzu Meitchem Anashim Lo Tzavo, and brought down in Ayom Yom a few days from now. It's interesting. It's brought down in Ayom Yom Kof Ches Tamuz. Where are we now? Kof something about it. Kof Aleph Tamuz. A week. It's a week. It's a week from now in Ayom Yom. And it's brought down over there that all the Rebbeim used to have certain maimas that they used to say and even repeat them from time to time. L'taher es avir, to purify the air. The Alter Rebbe's maima was this one. The one that's written in this week's parasha, the one about Chotzu Meitchem, the one all about Midian. It's all about Midian. We'll soon see the second. The Alter Rebbe used to say that maimah periodically to purify the air of the world. And it's written all the Rebbeim. The Rebbe Marash had the famous maimah Mikol Meichel Bakedim in Tov Reish Kov Tez, and the Rebbe Rashab is the famous maimah that learned in the yeshiva. We used to learn it in the yeshiva in the old days. The maimah of Yodata Hayim from Tov Reish Nun Zan, it's called the Moskva V'Yodaita. It's called. It's very famous maimah of Rebbe Rashab. So we find that this maimah was considered by the Alter Rebbe such a basic maimah that he had to repeat it from time to time. It's written over there. So the Alter Rebbe says that we've been in Golus since the time of the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash more than 1,700 years. That's what the Alter Rebbe got that maimah. So that was then. Now it's another 200 years since then. We've been in Golus more than 1,900. Over there, the Alter Rebbe have been in Golus more than 1,700. They stayed there. So says the Alter Rebbe, wait a minute. The first Beis Hamikdash only had a Golus of 70 years. And here we've been in Golus after the second Beis Hamikdash 1,700 years. And where's the end? Says the Alter Rebbe, the things that brought the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash were terrible things. Gilui Arayos, Shfichas Domim, Avodah Zorah. So there's a medrash, there's a medrash Eicha. What it says that maybe the Eivshter would have been prepared to overlook those in Yonim, but he wouldn't overlook Bittul Torah. In other words, together with those in Yonim, there was also Bittul Torah Bisman, stopped by his Rishon. So said the Alter Rebbe, 70 times, 70 years is not all that terribly long if you compare it to the Golus that we're in. What is the reason why the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed? Brings the Gemara on Sekta Yuma, Sinas Chino. Pointless hatred. Sinas Chino. So says the Rebbe, what are ties? Sinas Chino, pointless hatred. The truth is that the other guy never did you anything, Klau. He never did you anything, and he's perfectly alright with you, and everything is fine. But you can't put up with him. You say, no, this guy, I can't stand him, he gets in my way. In other words, it's a hatred, but it has no basis. And so that's called sinas chinam. And the Gemara said in Masechet Yuma, that's the reason why the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. And the Alter Rebbe says we're sitting in Golas over 1700 years because of the sin of sinas chinam. Pele. And he says, why? He said, because those in Yonu there and the biased Rishain, they come mitzad the midas rois of a man, mitzad bad midas, things like Avodah Zarah and what do you call it, Gil Arayas. In Dakis there's also those in Yonu, and they come mitzad. He said, but there's only 7 bad midas, and each one's Korah Miten, 7 times 10 is 70. That's what he said. So you get 70 years of Golas. He said, sinas chinam is not a midah. It's not anything. It's an Indian kloli of atzmi that you can't get potter from it. It's very, very difficult once it gets you to get potter from. And he even says an amazing thing, that it's not really Ra Gomer, it's not really 100% evil. But he said it's the shoirish of all Ra Gomer. Now with that I'm going to answer a couple of the kashas later on. But the Alter Rebbe makes an amazing point, and I must admit that in my opinion that needs, because there is a mitzvah in the Torah not to hate somebody. It's written in Parsha Kedoshim, where he says, no achicha b'levavecha, you're not to hate somebody. So why would sinas chinam be, as it were, not an open Isa, not an open ovein, and sinas stam would there be? So I think I can answer that, but generally speaking. As we go along another couple of lines, just have to be patient. We'll get to the main quetch shortly. So it goes along the Alter Rebbe, and he brings a Gemara, what the Gemara says, and it's actually written in the same place where it's written in Masechet Yuma Daf Tes, but the Gemara says over there, the reason why the Golas are so long after Bayis Sheni compared to Bayis, the Gemara offers a reason. And the Gemara says, because in the first Bayis, Nizgala Aveinon, Nizgala Kitzon, since it was revealed to them what is their sin, and therefore the end of the Golas also, once you know what your sin is, you can correct it. And therefore we say that they corrected it in 70 years, and they came back to Otzor. He said the last, since the Bayis Sheni, that we don't know what the oven is, not clear to us. Therefore we don't know where the end is. Zok the Alter Rebbe, the Gemara just said 2 lines or 3 lines before that the whole reason was sinas chinam. Why does the Gemara say that the loin is gala aveinam? But yeah, we do know what the oven is. It's sinas. Zok the Alter Rebbe, that sinas chinam is something that you don't know you got it, and that's what the Gemara means. Loin is gala aveinam. We know what the oven is, but we don't know the oven. We know what it is, but we don't know what it is. And therefore, that's a pshat in the Gemara. Loin is gala aveinam, loin is gala kitzon. You can have it, and you can suffer it very seriously, and yet you say, me? Oh, I love everybody. I'm fine. I'm the Emes Oy of Yisrael, and I'm Achdus, and I'm everything. I says the Alter Rebbe, you could be in pekel tiff, and you don't realize that you're in the pekel. Because you'll say, me? No way. And that's what he says, Loin is gala aveinon, that the Etzeminin doesn't reveal itself. To Atzel, to Shalom, why not? And that's what we mean, it's not Ra Gomer. Because something which is Ra Gomer sticks in the eye. You know what Ra Gomer is? It pinches you in the eye. And if you know what Ra Gomer is, you'll do something about, hopefully. Unless you're glutton, I'm a sugar. Yeah, you'll do something about it. Over here you don't really know. I saw the Shaila, well, the Taisha don't really know what's it up Shaila. So Rebbe said, the Alter Rebbe, we have to say that there's something deep inside that causes us not to be ba'atas one with the other. That we're all one family, we're all mamish. How do we say? Shabbos Mavokim. We say, Chaverim Kol Yisrael v'nei ma omen. Are we really Chaver? And not only that, Kol Yisrael Achim. And in Tana the Alter Rebbe says we're all mamish. Bonim Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're all Achim because we're all Bonim Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As he stated in Tana Perek Lamed Pei. If I wish it to snit azay, Lama ze lo ka. And it's tzitach and a tzitach, it just goes on and on and on. And noch a poya, and noch here, and noch here, and schlepptach. Belisa. So it comes on the Alter Rebbe, and he said over there that the 7 Midas rise, or they fell from Olam HaTohu. They fell down from Olam HaTohu. He said, what was wrong with Olam HaTohu? That all the spheres were tremendous, but they weren't these colors. They didn't interact and intertwine one with the other. They were tremendously high. It's written that higher than the spheres of two is Nishtoah. It was tremendous gilui. But nonetheless, they couldn't get together. Says the Alter Rebbe, oh, that's the union of Midian. Midian is the koyach which prevents the highest and most wonderful inyanim in Kedusha being unable to get together and interact and be misachid one with the other. And he said, Ad Kedei Kach, the shoyrish of Midian is the inability of the oiros of Toyu to actually unite together. So you're getting some idea. What is the story with Midian? And Midian from Lashon Modain, Veriv. And therefore there's a Zohar Kodesh, what it brings down, the talk of Yosef. Yosef, his wife was Osnas Bas Potiphera, and he was Kohen Oin. He was a Kohen in a place called Oin. And the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu was Yisrael, he was Kohen Midian. And the Zohar Kodesh says in Pashi Yisrael that they're really the same thing. Kohen On and Kohen Midian are the same thing. So Chassidus asked the question, how are they the same thing? I mean, they're two different people. So we had the other in the last year, the one before, we had, what's the type of word? Oin. Oin was an oven. Aleph Vav Nun. You know what Oin is? Oin is Ich. Oin is the power that a man should have to say I. Ich. And then Potiphera, he was a kohen of Oin. He was a how do they call it, a server. He was a kohen of something that served. He was completely devoted to the service of Ich. Alright. Kohen Oin. He was a kohen of Oin. He and Yisrael were the same thing. Yisrael was a kohen Midian. And the Zohar Kodesh said they were the same thing. How are they the same thing? No, the guy says, what is Midian? Midian is sort of inability to unite. It's one sphere is beautiful, but the other sphere is beautiful, but you can't get them to, you can't let them be to unite together, work together. Oh, that's news. Hello. Why? Because you say, oh me, I am Gvura. I don't come to Chesed. Chesed's got no erech to me. I am Gvura. I'm nature. Anybody else is going. And that's what makes Midian. That makes like a strife and a very delicate inability not to be able to unite. And that comes from Oin. And therefore it's very beautiful. It's what the Rebbe said, Rashi writes everything on Kabbalah. That Pinchas was interested in Yosef. He was also worried about this whole business with the Midianites, that they sold him into another Midianite. They sold him into the hand of the Kohenite. If we come and say the Midianites, that they sold him because their whole union is this union of Ir. But they don't allow any actus in the creation. Nishtodah. And if they gave him over into the hands, they knew exactly who they were giving him to. And the Pinchas said, oh, those guys, oh, let me go, Moshe Rabbeinu, I'll fix it up, I'll get them. And who did he got? He got Bilam, because Bilam's a combination of them together with Amali. We'll soon see what's that in a section. Edify. Kommt euch lefis her that the inyan of sinas chinam is the shorish of it is ear. It therefore comes along the Rabbi Rashab in the very famous kuntres. You've heard of the kuntres Echolta. You ever heard of it? Kuntres Echolta. But the Rabbi Rashab said that mimer twice. It's a long mimer. We only go a certain way with the mimer. After chapter 20, we don't have it. We don't have the manuscript. So it's more than 20 chapters. That takes weeks to learn it, but the Rebbe said it at one bang. He said the whole mimer one gewaltig hemshit. He said in Pasha, he said Simchas Torah, Tov Reish Nun Tes, and he said in Pasha Noach, Tov Reish Nun Tes. Simchas Torah, as our mimer all about Sinas Chinam, just about it. People said eyes must have been jolting out of their head on stalks, you know. In the middle of Simchas Torah, as our mimer all about Sinas Chinam. And the Rabbi Rashab right over there that the whole inyan of Sinas Chinam is Yeshes. He writes it over there before, even more mature than what's written in Likutei Torah. And he said, what happens here is that you can be very, very good with your chaver, and you say, oh, yours, and you can even learn with him, and you can even do it, but deep inside you don't really forgive him. You know what it means in it is. You know what he's really going on. He's good. That's fine, but I'm a little better, you know. I'm after all. And the Rebbe Rashab writes that is the poison of the Golas. That's what it is. That is the poison of the Golas. And he said, on the contrary, if you really appreciated Hashem and you really knew what it meant to Jewish people, then whenever you saw an advantage in another person, you would be happy about it, but tachlis hasimcha. And if you saw that your friend was better than you, you'd be happy about that. You wouldn't envy him, or you wouldn't, not want to forget him, or not want to be ba'aktis with him because he's doing better than you, or he's got some milah that you don't have. On the contrary, you'd be tremendously happy. And you'd want to support him and back him for that milah. And he brings the famous message, it's written that Rachel, she envied Leah. So the Medrash said she did not envy Leah. She envied Leah's midas toivos and Leah's ma'asim tovim. So the Rebbe said, if you envy and you sort of can't, as it were, forget the other person's ma'asim tovim because you would like to have those ma'asim tovim yourself, he said that brings out into the best and most wonderful things. He said you end up being picked like that person, and you bring out your own shleimness. But what's the trouble is that we see milas in the other person, and instead of wanting to gain those milas for ourselves, we can't be one with him because of that. We always feel a little separation. And we always feel a little sort of objection to the other person, and hundreds of such inyanim. But the Rebbe Rashab said there's no limit to it. It just goes on and it intertwines in all sorts of delicate details, and that leads to the problem of sinas. And he said that's what the Alter Rebbe writes over there in Likutei Torah. You can't really know that you've got it unless you really work it yourself. And once you know you've got it, to really be sorry about it is another one. And to really get rid of it is a third one. And that's what the Gemara says in Masechta Yuma. That's the pshat that our Rabbeim say, that it wasn't revealed what is the Ovid. And so everybody asks, of course we know what the Ovid is. No, it's not revealed. It's not revealed in the sense that you don't admit to it and you don't really see it in yourself. And therefore the Rebbe Rashab used the expression Liebe lefumaloi gadia, that your mouth doesn't tell it to your heart. Your heart doesn't tell it to your mouth. You know about it, and you know it in your heart, but your heart wouldn't be courageous enough to bring it out into the mouth. Amazing statement. Follows that the Midian is good. Midian is the whole spirituality. Midian is the high, chinomdik. How the clippers work in a way that they look as if they really don't mean anything. I don't, I'm fine. Kiyu in a way that they say, oh well, Hashem Shemayim, you know, so everything's fine. What do you want from me? I never did that. In other words, you never really get to Emes Cheshbon HaNefesh. Therefore, they are like the klolus of the whole Inyam and the Golus. That's Midian. Midian is the klolus of everything. And the fire, the Alter Rebbe says over there, I spoke in the Zohar, I looked up in the Zohar, the Alter Rebbe quotes from the Zohar, of its piddly ploy. It's written that they couldn't be Matan Torah until Midian, what's his name? Yisroi. Until Yisroi came along and he was moided. And he said, Ato yodati ki godel Hashem mikol Elohim. And it's written that once Yisroi was moided, and Yisroi said, oh yes, now I admit that that's what made possible for Matan Torah. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been argued with Torah. So everybody said, well, it's not enough. You had 600,000 Yidden that were ready to shrei Neisaver and Ishma. They were ready already. And now he had to wait for Yisroi to come, and he had to say, Yisroi. So what was Yisroi? He was a Kohen Midian. And he was a Kohen Oin, but he was already the outcome of Oin. He was the one that was carrying out the outcome of Ich, and Ich brings to Midian. And remember, he was a Kohen Midian until he became Batel, the can't be Matan Torah. Because the Torah can't rest in the world where somebody says, yeah. And he, oh yes, he's all right, but he's in my way a little bit. You know, I got a monopoly around here. What's he doing? You know, fine, wonderful. He's great, but you know, I'm greater. You know, so, what's up this? Ma pitom. So that's the end of it. Yisroi had to be batil. You had to get rid of that whole in. Then you could give the Torah. It's an amazing statement on the part of the Zohar. And the Alter Rebbe brings, and the Alter Rebbe tries to say something, what doesn't he bring? The Alter Rebbe. What he said, come to is that Midian is like you might call the whole inner message of the Emes Klippos, of the Emes source of trouble of the Golas, whatever is Midian. And the fair, Moshe Rabbeinu. Who's Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu is the answer to Midian. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is the greatest of all people. There's never been and won't be anybody like Moshe Rabbeinu. And Afu became Moshe Rabbeinu was honor of Mikol Adam, Asher Pnei Adoma. And what does it mean, honor of Mikol Adam? Mikol Adam. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu looked at the mile of every Yid and he said, oh, well, if I would have that mile. In other words, if Moshe Rabbeinu with all these unbelievable godless, he looked at everybody and said, well, they're better than me. Or, another Taichi Alter brings in another Maimon Mekutei Torah, that he said that if those people would have had what I have, they would be incomparably better than me. If they would have the koyches that I've been given, they would be incomparably better than me. So it's two different pirushim. Or another pirush, the Rebbe Rashab in Ayin Tes, the Rebbe Rashab says that Moshe Rabbeinu he saw us. He saw the generation right before the Geula. And he saw what sort of nisyonas and tzoras and unbelievable inyanim they would have. And now, unless they would still hold by Yiddishkeit, when Moshe Rabbeinu saw that, he said, he just can't possibly, how could he even, he can't in any way rival that. There's no way he can live like that. How can these people do it? They're unbelievably great. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu just gave everything away for the sake of the generation. Our generation. And that's your meet in Fananova. Moshe Rabbeinu knew who he was. You couldn't fool him. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't really believe that he was just a little lemelet. He didn't believe that cloud. He knew what it, but Afal became, he felt that everybody was better than him, or if they would have the powers he had, they would do incomparably better than what he believed that purpose. And that's the answer to Midian. And if it's brought in the Zohar Kodesh, a penalty gesagt, that when they said Cosby Bastur, she made a mistake. She got mixed up with Zimri Ben Salu, or she was going on for Moshe Rabbeinu. As they stayed. It's written that they said to the Malchi Midian, said, you got to get this guy called Moshe Rabbeinu. And she said, how am I going to know? They stayed. She asked, how am I going to know? They said, oh, wherever you see people standing around him and, talking with him, that you'll know that that's him. So he gets into the she gets in the Jewish camp, and the Duke at that moment, the Zimri ben Tolo, he was making a big meeting with all these guys. So she saw all these people, and she went for him, and it wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu, it was Zimri ben Tolo. Oh, it's written that they wanted to get at Moshe Rabbeinu. And it's written originally when Balak, that when Balak brought Bilam, his whole kavanah was to bring down Moshe Rabbeinu. The whole kavanah was to get at Moshe Rabbeinu. So we see from that the whole inyan from Midian is scared to death of Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is the exact opposite. He's the bittul, and meat is in from bittul. In other words, he's all the inyanim, the perfection, and he says, I'm nothing. And there he said, Nachnu, ma, we are absolute nothing. Yeah, Nachnu, ma. And that's the inyan from the Shem Havaya. And therefore, the Eibishter, what the Yidden are so dear to him, is that he takes the Nekoma of the Yidden. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, and Rashi brings it also, that the Nekoma of the Yidden is the Nekoma of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. But Pnimius Ador, because Yud Kei Vav Kei is Achtas, Amiti is Bittel, how everybody can live together with Emes, Love and Achtas, Amiti is Beineihem. That's the Shem Havaya. And Moshe Rabbeinu is that. He lives that B'poel. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. And if he said Nikmas Havaya. Therefore it's got to be Nikmas Havaya b'Midian. Because Midian and the Shem Havaya can't possibly get to together. They had a hateful comma one from the idea. So now it'll be understandable. I haven't seen this one. I'm only saying now, but Derech Efshe. But לא מצאתי את זה, לא היה לי זמן לחפש את זה. אבל I would like to suggest that the far Midian, the pnimis of Amalek is Midian. Below. That's a pnimis of Amalek. Because how do you get to the whole inyan of Amalek? Because you hold yourself for a ganzuma. See, why do you get cold and why do you say, oh, I can't do this and I can't do this and something else and it's very fun, but just why? Because you hold yourself a whole big Yikar it's your wonderful, so how they demand so much oil, let me have the own nucha, let me take it easy, what do you want from me? I say, feel, and I do, you tell me all this Chassidus stuff and all the other of it. I learn a little bit of Gemara, something to which I lost me. That's how the Molly gradually cools everything off until Chas v'Sholem, Chmonim Mitzvah can fall into who knows what. But that's already Poel Mamish. What is behind it all is the Ich, and the Ich is Midian. Midian is the Pnimius of Amalek. However, he's only the Pnimius. The Emes of Poel Mamish of it all is Amalek. So therefore the Torah only deals with Poel Mamish. And therefore the Torah says with Amalek you got to get rid of him absolutely because he's the Poel Mamish. But Midian, with Moshe Rabbeinu, you got to realize that they're the Mokeh of all the Tzores, and that's a Ruchnistic Inen, and that begins with everything there. You've got to take Nekoma, you've got to take revenge, and make sure that they don't ever lift their head again. But it's a spiritual Inen, it's not a Inen b'poel mami. It's like in the Mokeh v'shoyer shalador. Therefore, the Eibusher said to Moshe Rabbeinu, you are the Mokeh v'shoyer of all Inyanim Ruchnim from Yidden, and you are the Mokeh v'shoyer of Bittul Amiti to the Shem Havaya. Until you will be involved in this, then you can't leave the world. It's not Chayyim that your Avodah will be finished unless you deal with this particular inyan. And if it's a ruchni, and if Moshe Rabbeinu didn't need to go out himself, but he needed to be in the whole inyan. He needed to be involved. And who is the guy that did it? But Poel was Pinchas. Because Pinchas was the Frierdiker Rebbe. Pinchas was the type of inyan where you just went with Mesiras Nefesh without chokhmas. But that's another form of Emes Achtas v'Emes Bittul, that you don't ask any shaylas. If this is the way it's got to be, that's the way it's got to be. Boom. And you say, well, Pliny says, and this community leader says, and there's something else over there, and there's all sorts of beautiful values, and there's all sorts of inyonim, and this is the community, and this is the nice way to do it, and it's the way people are happy, and all sorts of hundreds of inyonim. I say, you don't reckon what it, you say, oh, very nice, but this is the way the Rebbe wants it, this is the way the Torah is, this is the way it's got to be, Pinchas. And that's what the Frierdiker Rebbe said. He wrote it himself. The Frierdiker wrote in Rakuti Diburim that everything that happened with Pinchas more or less happened with at a ruchnistic war, the war of Pinchas against Midian, or those who the ruchnistic in it, he can't come along and say, wipe this one out, wipe something else out, because it's not clear. You've got to know in every step where you're going to avoid this whole thing of the little Midianite that comes along, tricked around and causes this whole thing from Heder Ha'aktus, with the whole inyonim. But the Achrei was, you get rid of Midian, then you don't even need to be afraid of Amalek. Because you don't have the union of the little ich anymore. And that's why I told you guys the story. It was once the most amazing person. I mean, one of the highest Chassidim and the most biggest Bali Madrigas in Mesiras Nefesh amongst the Chassidim. He once wrote to the Rebbe Mendel over Shulchan. He once wrote at the beginning in Yiddish, he wrote the word ich. I'll tell you, start a sentence. And you start a sentence. In Yiddish, you write ich. So the Rebbe put a circle around to Reb Mendel. I mean, one of the most amazing Chassidim that's been. He wrote a circle around, he put a little line down the bottom, and the Rebbe said, Lizoya ki hainu hayeto hora. You have to be careful, because this is the yeto. The word ich. So Reb Mendel said he never wrote the word ich at the beginning of a sentence. After that, and he said whenever he wrote to the Rebbe, after that he never used the word ich beklal. He avoided using the word. Because that's the inner source of all the troubles, is the ich. Kohen oin, ich bin, und ich so, und ich will, and ich something else. That's Midian. That's what causes this whole inner sinas chinam, and that's why we're sitting in the Nebuch in the Golas with Yel Inyonim. However, the Rebbe comes along the Rebbe, and the Rebbe's another inyan. The Rebbe said, look, it's hammers, all those things have been, but they're finished. In other words, we've already beaten Midian. Oh, now there's another Midian comes along, another Midian creeps in. He said, oh yes, we beat Midian, and we beat Amalek, and we beat everything, and it's only the Gula Shleimer. Just step out and say, we want Mishana, be Makabal, the Gula Shleimer. Oh, and that's it. The whole year of the Shlicha, the famous thing, that the Rebbe said to all the Shluchim, the whole Shlichas, Lekabel, Pnei, Mashiach, Tid. Okay, so what happens? Everything's been finished. All I got to do is just be Makabel. Now, people can say I'm a sugar, people, who says anything about Mashiach, So what happens is another little Midian creeps in. And the Midian was a very Hashem Shemheim. Oh, no, I don't mean anything personal. Wait a minute, you can't talk to people in South Africa about Mashiach. They'll think you're crazy. Over there in Miami Beach or something, or you go to Canada or to Toronto or something, these beautiful suburbs and that ways, and all of a sudden you say Mashiach, and you see a Melech Mashiach, all we hear is a Lekabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkeinu. Ah, take it easy, come on, wait a minute. People don't like this. So what's the problem? Is your ich. You don't quite like it. That's your You say, well, a minute, Mashiach, I won't be able to have rest. I won't be able to have it. Leave me alone. Other people don't like it either. Do they? Well, that's another little Midian who's crept in. Hashem should guard us. The Frierdiker Rebbe said, we finished with Midian. And we finished with the Indian from Amalek. But Midian and Amalek go together. One's a product of the idea. And we finished with the whole thing. All of a sudden, a new Midian. The Rebbe said that way, but what about a year? I would like to do it slightly differently. I really mean good, but we'll do it my way. Let's do it your way. That's the message of today's parsha. We got to overcome the Midianites. We got to beat them and knock them. Nobody's going to have any time. Is exactly how you do it. Because your Pinchas came back, he didn't quite. He made a bit of a miscalculation. Pinchas got a bit angry, and immediately everything's all right. The main thing is that we clapped him. Got rid of it. But here, a little bit there, Moshe Rabbeinu was a little bit not pretty. Afterwards, you don't find any relation of it anymore. And the same thing here, we've got to get rid of the Midian. We've got to break this kippah and he got this freeze that's between us and the Gula Shlaim. Because it's just waiting. And look at what's happening. I mean, it's unbelievable. The other day, there was another thing that happened in Jerusalem, exactly the same as the one that happened about 3 weeks before. Exactly the same. And they won't learn. They just refuse to do anything about it. Until the British Foreign Secretary, or whatever whatever they call him, he said in a public statement the other day that if Israel doesn't change its attitude towards terror, we're not going to be able to fight world terror. And what it means is that the so-called Israelis are encouraging world terror all over the world. Look, it happened. Every few days that was the same thing. Mamish, the same thing that happened. It was a miracle that nobody got killed this time. And I know for what he did, because you got a big bilam in the middle, you got a bilam, and you go, oh, yeah, you got to do it this way, you got to touch it. Amali, you got to do this, you should go, I can tell you who that bilam is, but I'm only sure I can't tell. Hey, down to the middle, and the whole world is just being moved. Keep shooting. Now you get the poor Americans say, we should go, and they sent 30,000 soldiers looking for a needle in about 3 million haystacks. One needle, so 3 million haystacks. Never, so Rahmanas. It's a terrible Rahmanas does it. They're not going to find anything. Probably worse, because there's a quirk to stop the Golas, and it stopped stopping the Golas. And the quirk to stop the Golas is Moshe Rabbeinu, and everybody knows who that is. And you got to listen to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he never moved out of Brooklyn. He didn't run out. He just did everything. He sat in a little office in Brooklyn, and he settled the whole thing. And he'll just do it his way immediately. Boom, built it goes off. It's all going to stop, and it's the only way. And it's not going to help anything. And that's what David said to Moshe. Look, I don't really mind. You can sit in your office in Brooklyn, Moshe. You send Pinchas, you concentrate, send a lot of good, whoever, whatever. Over here, just say it, and it's going to all happen. Omen Ken Yehi. What's it?
Shechia b'nei Rabbeinu Melech Mashiach Le'olam Vayis. Shechia b'nei Rabbeinu Melech Mashiach Le'olam Vayis. Shechia b'nei Rabbeinu Melech Mashiach Le'olam Vayis.